So basically, it is a white woman. Her name is Peggy McIntosh. She is talking about how she kind of realized that white privilege existed by paying more attention in her life, and she wrote a list of the things that she has an advantage of in her life. And she's talking about how white kids are taught that they're not at an advantage, but everyone else is at a disadvantage.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
But the reason that this essay is actually really important is because just by the name of it, it's called Unpacking the Invisible Knapsack That Is White Privilege. It's because it is the main source for any educational source, any article, anything that you look up about white privilege. This is going to be mentioned because it was so revolutionary at the time that it came out, that because nobody really openly talked about white privilege, especially a white person addressing the fact that they themselves had that privilege, it is mostly people of color or the minorities that really try to put attention into this. But the fact that someone that was part of that group took ownership for it and even made that such a list that really called out what was the main difference between all of the minorities and white people, it was revolutionary for that time completely. And so I feel like after us reading the list, we've all chosen one specific thing out of the list of 26 things,
Yeah.
I think it is. Yeah, 26 things that set us apart, that really stood out for us because we've seen that in our own life. And we feel like, yeah, that only really affects us, but I've never seen a white person really have to deal with that. So if you want, you can start.
Okay. Number 3 says, I can be pretty sure that my neighbors in such a location will be neutral or pleasant to me. That one just kind of sticks out to me because being a white person, you can make sure that your neighbors won't feel threatened by you or feel like you might steal from them just because you're white. They trust you more, which you don't really get that if you're a darker skin color.
Mm-hmm.
True.
Yeah.
So, mine was 20, and this one says, I can easily buy postcards, picture books, greeting cards, dolls, toys, and children's magazines featuring people of my race. And I think this kind of stood out to me because, like, when I go shop, like, anything, like, even she was saying something about her sister asking about why her doll was white.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, it just stuck out to me because you don't see a lot of, like, darker skin colors or fair colors when it comes to that in the media. It's more so white people.
Yeah, and it's like harder to like explain to even children like the difference
right.
between like races, and it's like, well, if I'm black, does that mean I'm like bad, or
Right.
if I'm white,
Right.
does that mean I'm better? You know, so
And
it
most,
just-
most of the time that it even shows up on media, it's like a
Right.
stereotype.
Yeah.
It's not even like ideal.
Yeah.
Okay, so mine was number 4, and it says, I can go shopping alone most of the time, pretty well assured that I will not be followed or harassed. And most of the time that I go shopping, like, I like don't look at people, but I feel them looking at me. If that
Right,
makes sense,
yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So then I don't know, if I look up, then I feel somebody looking at me, and I just smile at them. And they're like, oh, she's like a nice black person.
Right.
Not,
Yeah.
black
And
person.
then it's like,
not,
can I help you with something?
yeah, exactly. It's like,
But like
something
most
in
of
my
the time,
face, like-
even when people are like watching you, it's usually workers because they're like, oh, I feel like that person's gonna steal something.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I should watch them more closely.
Yeah.
And then even like related to that, like my job, like sometimes like I used to work at Charlotte Russe, and like we have headphones to like communicate, and like
Yeah.
like black girls would come in and like the manager would be like, you know, oh, watch them, they're known to steal,
Wow.
or they've stole, or just make sure you like, and it's like, if they are stealing, okay, but like
Yeah.
if they're not,
But,
like sometimes they're not stealing.
Everybody
And so it's
steals.
like,
Yeah.
like just because it's that group of girls,
White
and-
people steal stuff all the time.
Yeah,
Right.
and it's not only like the black people that are getting like
Right,
discriminated,
it's all
like,
minorities.
Yeah, it's minor. Yeah,
period.
definitely.
Yeah, even when I go shopping with my mom, I tend to speak Spanish.
Right.
When we're in public even.
And like I even notice people like look at people who speak a different language with their family. They look at them weird, like
Yeah.
like they
they're
have to be
crazy.
speaking English, but like if English isn't your first language, you're not gonna speak that
Right.
like
Yeah.
subconsciously.
Right.
Sure.
Exactly, and I always like every time I'm in public, I always feel like someone. I'll look over my shoulder and I'll just see like
Someone's
couple
like just like
Yeah.
scowling at you.
I'm like, we're just speaking about
Yeah.
the clothes or something.
Right.
We're not talking about you. You're not that important.
You're not that important.
Exactly. Oh my gosh. That's the story of my life.
Right?
But for me, it was number 15, which says, I am never asked to speak for all the people of my racial group. And I feel like that it's like in every part of my life that speaks out. I mean, I've
Yeah.
even spoken out in this class
Yeah.
when
Yeah.
they were talking about why Mexicans get the privilege of having health insurance that we are
Yeah.
paying for.
Yeah.
It's like
Right.
I'm always the one that has to stand up for anybody that falls when they're the
Right.
Hispanic.
Yeah. Even though you're not Mexican, you
I'm
talked
not
about
Mexican.
like.
Exactly.
You just like you feel obligated to stand up for them because nobody else is.
Yeah. I mean, like it's always I'm like, and it pisses me off even when people say, "Well, shouldn't you be mad because you came here legally and these people are like cutting corners and you and they came here illegally?" Like, no,
No.
I had that privilege
Right.
that I had a company bring my family over. I recognize the privilege that I have,
Right.
and that's why I don't call those people out on anything.
Yeah.
Like you
If
don't
I-
take advantage of it.
Right.
Exactly. I mean, I feel like if people realize if you were in the situation that it was either you're gonna feed your child or not, would you not break any law possible to feed
Right.
your child?
Right.
Right.
Oh yeah. No.
Exactly. So I feel like in every class discussion or even in with friends, I always have to stand up for immigrants all
Yeah.
the time. And
And yeah, that's the same for me. Like, since I'm from Eritrea, like my roots are from Eritrea. You know, people like if they ever say anything about Africa, I'm just like, oh, how do you feel about Africa? It's
Right. Like they look at
first
you
of all,
like, what
yeah.
are your thoughts?
Like, first of all, Africa is a continent. It's not a country.
the country
Like,
of
let's-
Africa.
Let's start there. And I'm only from one part, like Eritrea. It's northeast Africa. So I mean, that's the only people that I can really talk about. But
Right.
even then, I can't like I don't know every single
Everybody's
person.
You can't speak for the entire country.
Exactly. So that's what really grinds my
Yeah.
gears. But
well, now moving on to like the questions that we asked the people that we interviewed, I thought it was only right since we asked them that we ourselves try to answer these.
makes sense.
So the first question that we asked them was, do you think white privilege exists?
Yes.
Yes, everybody.
Yeah.
Yes.
100%.
Unanimous yes.
Yeah.
Alright, to follow that up is, when was the first time you realized it existed?
Well, I mean, it wasn't like a definite first time, but having a white mom and a black dad and going out with them at different times, you can see it. Like when I would go shopping with my mom, people were really nice to her, like very generous, tried to talk to her. But like if I go like to the grocery store with my dad, it's basically, here are your things, okay, now go.
Mm-hmm.
Like people just aren't as nice to my dad as they are to my mom, and that was really weird for me as a kid because I'm like, my dad's nice, like be nice to him. Like my dad's a good person.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I can agree with that. Like going out in public, like what you said. Like what I'm gonna say is, okay. So for example, like walking into the store. I walk into the store. It's a white lady that walks in front of me. Everybody, hey, how you doing? You know, what you shopping for? Just
Yeah.
full of conversation. You know, and I come in, it's kind of like almost like, who's gonna speak to her first? You know,
Yeah,
what I'm saying? Like who's gonna speak? And then when it's spoken, it's kind of like, hey,
They're like, oh, hi.
like you're trying to like get a feel for me, like you're trying to feel me out. It's
Yeah.
like I am nice, and like so when I'm responding, I'm like, hey, like you know,
Right,
they're
yeah.
like, oh, well now you know, now I'm you know what I'm saying? But it's like, why can't
Back
I
to
just
that
get that
stereotype,
same?
like, oh, you're a nice black person.
Yeah, it's like why can't I just get that same? Hey, like why did you have to try to feel and see how it's
Yeah.
gonna respond to you first? You know.
Yeah.
So.
privilege exists. There are many white people in the United States, and there are than any other ethnicity. As a result, the white people feel they are more entitled to to get what they need first, you know. And for example, like if you go to the bank and apply for a loan, I mean, if you are white, you are most likely going to get approved than a black person and Latino person. And here's my reason: is that I think white privilege is not about white. I mean, if you go to Mexico or any other nations, the majority always have the privilege.
Mm.
And I think the reason that is a white privilege in the United States is because there are more of them here, and they feel like that they should get what they need first, or they do get what they need because they are the majority and they have the power. So yes, there is a privilege, and it does exist, and the reason that it exists is because there is a majority here. So your next question, I've never really experienced it, but I can see it, you know, from outside when you see how black person or white person, how Latino or white person get treated by someone else. And for example, the same thing goes if things that we see in TVs most of the time. I've never experienced it, and like but I have seen it in the TV and I have seen it in real life. And for example, when a white male or woman or a police officer stops a white person versus a black person, there is a different act, you know. When they talk to a white person, they talk to him like they know him. They talk to him without being scared, you know. Well, when they talk to a black person or Latino, they have to be careful and be ready if there is something to happen. So that's another privilege when, you know, not a lot of Latinos or blacks get the opportunity to get accepted to higher education. You know, it's the culture of the United States, and I think that's everywhere the same. If you go to France, most likely the French people are gonna get the opportunity more than the other people who lives there or who come to live the place. So I can't really say I experienced it, but I have seen it, and I have been so many times, especially on TV.
Yeah, I can agree with that. Like going out in public, like what you said. Like, what I'm gonna say is, okay. So for example, like walking into a store. I walk into a store. It's a white lady that walks in front of me. Everybody, hey, how you doing? You know, what you shopping for? Just
Yeah.
full of conversation. You know, and I come in, it's kind of like almost like, who's gonna speak to her first? You know,
Yeah,
what I'm saying? Like who's gonna speak? And then when it's spoken, it's kind of like, hey,
They're like, oh, hi.
like you're trying to like get a feel for me, like you're trying to feel me out. It's
Yeah.
like I am nice, and like so when I'm responding, I'm like, hey, like you know,
Right,
they're
yeah.
like, oh, well now you know, now I have to be, you know what I'm saying? But it's like, why can't I
Back
just
to
get
that
that
stereotype,
same?
like, oh, you're a nice black person.
Yeah, it's like, why can't I just get that same, hey, like, why did you have to try to feel and see how I was trying to
Yeah.
respond to you first, you know?
Yeah.
So,
Well, I've never been like discriminated or anything, so I mean, being like a person, like period, like a minority person or whatever. I've just seen like white privilege everywhere. Like, for example, like being a student, like being the only African American person in a lecture hall. Like,
Yeah.
it's crazy. It's like, okay, why am like this is kind
Yeah.
of weird, and you just look around and it's like you only see one race and it's not yours, you know?
Yeah.
that's
it's so
just,
uncomfortable.
yeah,
It
it's
is
really
very
uncomfortable.
uncomfortable.
Even like in social media, like, okay, we can bring up the news, like when the guy who, Ryan, the white guy who shot up the church in South
Oh
Carolina.
yeah, yeah.
He shot up the church in South Carolina, and they took him to Burger King afterwards because he said he was hungry, you know? And it's like, then you have people like Michael Brown, Eric Gardner, those people who get shot and killed for selling CDs and cigarettes.
Right.
So it's like, if that isn't white privilege right there, then I know what it is.
Yeah.
You think white privilege exists exists.
Yes.
When was the first time you realized white privilege existed?
The election, because I didn't vote and I got a lot of backlash, not only from my friends but my family.
I feel like my first experience again was moving to the U.S. Like, it was a culture shock completely because, I mean, I'm not saying in South America we're all handy dandy, all cultures together.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's hug it out.
Yeah.
I mean, there's still kind of a separation, but it's like, it's more of a class. Privilege that separates us is the money that we have under our name. It's not really that much of a racial thing. But here in the U.S., I mean, my family is very, like I said in my essay, my family's been very privileged with money
Yeah.
my entire life. I've never had to struggle. I mean, it's not like I had to depend on loans to come to college or anything. And I recognize that privilege that I have. But and so with that, I had this advantage when I was in South America. But here, when I came to the U.S., it's like they were shocked that I lived in this certain part of the neighborhood.
Yeah, they're like, where are you living so well?
Yeah.
And they're like, and like even like now, like my brother's best friends who are white guys, they make a joke that my family's actually in charge of a cartel. That's a running joke between them because again we have the privilege of money.
Right.
And even again, like when I was in school, I had parents and like teachers look down on me because I was Hispanic. And I mean, I was fluent in English, and it took me 3 years to get out of ESL because they said because of the lisp that I had, they said it was an accent. I mean, you saw like there were kids that spoke worse English than I did. They couldn't even write cursive or anything like that.
Yeah.
And they were completely fine, but I was constantly being judged by it.
Right.
That's the same for me. Like, I was in ESL for about, like, I don't know, 3-4 years in elementary school, even though I was born here. And
Really?
it doesn't make any sense. Like, I literally...
Just because, like, you are from a different country.
Exactly. And
like,
English is my
heritage.
first language.
Expected you to be, yeah.
Doesn't make any sense. Like, I passed every test that they gave me, and they're just like, oh, maybe if we just bring her back, like, she wouldn't know this. It's like looking down, you know? I don't know. It just really...
I didn't even know
messed up.
that they were like allowed to put you in ESL if you were born here.
Yeah, I was born here. Like, English is my first language.
Right.
Why am I in here? I'm just like everybody else.
Right.
Like,
Yeah, and even with paperwork, like because I went to international schools in South America, I learned English and Spanish at the same time. So I've literally spent my
Right.
entire life with English.
yeah.
Right.
And we had the paperwork saying that I have been learning English my entire life.
Right.
And they were still like, nah. She said
Can't
that
be
one
sure.
word wrong.
So we're gonna keep her here for an entire
She needs to stay
semester.
here.
Yeah.
You're wrong,
crazy.
okay? They were just cheating the system down there. Um, Do you think white privilege exists?
Yes.
When was the first time you realized it existed?
One time, me and my mom were at a department store, and this white woman was in the line in front of us. And as she was checking out, the cashier, who was also white, gave her a discount for something my mom was about to buy that looked alike. And so the lady paid, she left. My mom, who is Hispanic, goes in line and asks for the coupon for the discount, and the cashier didn't give it to her. So that was the first time I realized it existed.
But I feel like the hardest thing, I mean, like, when trying to explain this to white people is, like, how do you even explain white privilege to someone?
Right. And I mean, I don't know if I could like explain it like a definition, but like I don't know. It's something that you have to provide examples for. Like my example with like going out with my mom or with my dad, or like how my parents didn't go to church really because if they went to a white church, all the white people looked at them weird like, why is that white woman with a black man?
Yeah.
And even vice versa, if they went to a black church, the black people looked at my dad like, why is he with that white woman?
Yeah.
So, I mean, that was a factor in my childhood.
Yeah.
I would have explained someone who doesn't know about white privilege. It just I will tell him what means to be white in the United States will be what it means to have first opportunities, to have an access to an easy access to go to college, an easy opportunity to buy a house, an easy opportunity to become a leader, whether it's in politics or in education or in anything. Because just because you are white, I mean, if we bring two educated people, black or white, I mean, the white person will get the attention more than the black person. It's just because there is more majorities of white people in the U.S. And I wouldn't blame, and it's not a problem of white people. There is a white privilege. I think that's the same in everywhere. It's a human nature. When you have the majority of people, whatever that race is, whether if it's black or Mexican, Latinos, it's gonna be the majority that will take the privilege, that will get more from the opportunity than the other person, the minority. So yes, there is a privilege in the United States, and yes, it does exist. It happens, and but we can't blame white people for the privilege. It's just the majority that because they are majority, that's why they get the privilege. And it's the same if you go to Mexico. The Latinos will have, or they will feel more entitled to things that the white people who lives in Mexico. So yeah.
Definitely. Okay, well, we can look at it in the sense of like privilege. What does it exactly mean to be privileged? Like to me, I feel like privilege is something that's earned, something that you know what I'm saying, you worked hard to get and it's given. You know what I'm saying? It's rewarded. And I feel like white privilege comes in is where it's not earned. It's just
Something you're born with.
yeah, it's just something that's just handed
Like
to
you just get it.
Yeah, just for the simple fact, you know what I'm saying? Like what she was saying, like it's not really like one big just set explanation for it. It is like in my paper I was putting like white privilege is being able to like express your emotions, like any type of feelings that you're feeling and not be seen as angry, you know what I'm saying, for expressing how you feel. And like as far as like being able, you know what I'm saying, standing on like being stopped by a cop, you're more likely to if okay, let me rewind. Okay, so I have a white best friend, and she's done some stuff. She's been to jail and all that. But I feel like when we're out in public, I'm more so looked upon as angry, like or violent, more so violent, like
the more likely to be a criminal.
And compared to her, and it's like. But if you look at her track record, like she's been in jail, she's you know what I'm saying, and I haven't been anything. But in the public eye, I'm just gonna be deemed as this, and yeah, you know what I'm saying, just because I'm black.
How would you explain white privilege to someone?
I would explain it as how you see one white person being treated a certain way, and then you see like maybe a Latino or like an African American being treated like a whole different way, like whether it comes to being bisexual or even like getting a punishment, like even when you're getting arrested, most black people are shot, but white people are just arrested.
I agree with you guys. Like, there's no real definition for it. Like, you can only explain it with examples. Like, I don't know. Because even, like, when I was interviewing people, like, my cousin was like, when I'm in class, like, for example, with the class thing, like, I just expect, like, a white person to get the answer right. And when they just say, like, I don't know, or if they just sit there quiet, like she's just like, okay, that's weird because like, I know the answer, so I'm gonna raise my hand, you know. And the teacher is just like, okay, like whatever. And she thinks that like the teacher wouldn't answer or call on her because like she wouldn't know the answer, you know. I don't know. It's just like the simple fact that like minorities are just, I don't know. I don't want to say
they're looked at as like less as a whole, like
exactly.
like
As a
less
whole.
likely to be successful,
Yeah.
not as smart, like just,
just, like,
not
disadvantaged.
not as
Yeah,
good.
right. Period. Yeah.
How would you explain white privilege to someone?
White privilege is sort of a right that white people are given because of the color of their skin, and it's not worked for, it's just expected.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel again, there's not like an easy way to show it to someone. I feel like at the end of the day, it's like you gotta give them your own examples, like
Right.
things you've lived through yourself that show like you are at a higher standard than I am. Like I will no matter how hard I work, I will never be the same as you.
And this, like, now that you're saying that, like, I kind of like just want to touch base on something because I feel like white people see white privilege and think of their lives and like, oh well, I know that like when I do this is unfair, so there's no way that I can be privileged. Like, no, we're not telling you that this is a white privilege for you to feel guilty or feel bad
Right.
about something that, because you didn't, you know what I'm saying, you didn't
Do anything.
You didn't
It's
do
not your
anything.
fault. Exactly.
But you become guilty when you
Deny
pretend
it.
that it's
Refuse
not
to
there.
recognize
Yeah,
it.
when you say that it doesn't exist and that it.
Yeah, and
That's
like,
when you become
So true.
guilty, and that's when it becomes
A problem.
a problem.
and
Yeah.
like bouncing off of what you said, like it's just exhausting having to constantly like explain myself and tell people, like try to
Right.
make them realize I'm not a stereotype.
Yeah,
like
right.
it's just mentally exhausting to be like, no, like I'm not like as low as you think I am.
Yeah.
I
No.
promise.
Exactly.
And it's just, I feel like the worst part is like, whenever you're having a good time with someone, and like you feel like you've known this person for so long, and then they tell you that I'm poor, or like I struggled with getting into school,
Right.
or something like that. So I obviously don't have the white
Yeah,
privilege that you're
Like
talking
just
about.
because you
Yeah.
struggle doesn't mean
You
you don't have
right.
white privilege.
Yeah.
Like you have white skin, so you have that privilege in the
Right.
eye of the media.
Exactly.
Like
So you can't
Yeah.
say it's not
I
there.
feel like the
I
best.
can't.
like you can't help it. Like you
Yeah.
have white privilege.
I mean, I know in my essay I was trying to get this point across. Like white people can become anything. Like
Mhm.
remember Sandra Bland, the white woman that pretended to be black?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you literally have this culture that has been created from stealing and taking apart other cultures, and you're constantly reinventing yourself. Well,
Right.
we're always going to be stuck with the culture that we've had from the beginning.
Right.
There's no reinventing ourselves. We can't
Right.
I can't show up somewhere and be like, hello, my name's Hillary.
Yeah.
It's like I am a white woman with blonde hair because it'll be like,
No, you're not.
Yeah.
Exactly. And there's like this entire like, I'm not saying like, oh, a white person could be born poor and become a millionaire.
Yeah.
No, I'm just saying that you could literally like, you can change any aspect of your life. You can adopt anything, and it would be
Right.
completely fine. It's completely easy. You could change your image completely, and people would just judge you by that. You wouldn't be
Mhm.
judged at all by anything else. If I tried to do something different, they'd be like, wow, you're just so different from every other Hispanic person I've seen or
Yeah.
heard of.
Speaking of that, I actually have a story about that. So in high school, there was this kid who was racist. He wore a Confederate flag belt and like called people niggers, like was racist. He sat behind me in my math class, and like I didn't know he was racist until after all this happened.
Yeah.
But like we'd become friends, and he told me one day, he was like, yeah, I like you. You're not as bad as the rest of the black people. And I was like, what do you mean? He was like, you're a different kind of black person. I was like, we're all black people.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry that you don't like all of them, but that I'm not any different than the black
Exactly.
kid that you don't like.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly. It's like they have this privilege as being an individual.
Yeah.
They they will never if you try to call anyone out saying like as a joke being like, oh, white people, they get so offended.
Right.
Because like you can't say that.
Like, I'm an individual.
Yeah, I'm
I
an
don't represent
individual.
all white people.
I
but,
guess
like,
it's not all white people and stuff like that. It's like, well,
it's very
you did it to me.
hypocritical. It's very
Right.
hypocritical because they're
Yeah.
like all of those black people, but like they can't be all of those white people.
Yeah.
Exactly, and it's that entire thing. Like they could really become anything they want.
Yeah.
Like at the end of the day, you could go to jail and come out, and people would judge you less than the guy you probably shared a cell with that was black.
Exactly.